Okay, we're now moving to part 4, your presentation skills. Now, everything we've covered up to this point, you guys have to help me remember. Part 1 was the relationship, so we have to have a focus. Part 2 was being aware of the student and their learning styles and how they make decisions. Part 3 that we just got completed was?
The instructor.
The instructor, in other words, his responsibility. And now we're going into the meat of the stuff. Okay, now we're actually going to be talking about your presentation skills. This is a learning. This is something that, we talked about being a follower or a charismatic, and there's certain things inherently that we are. But there's certain things that we can't change, but presentation skills, this is something that you can make a big difference in how you make a presentation. So let's get into it. So the first thing is 4.1, the introduction. Your presentation skills are the tools you use to transfer knowledge. We've established the goal. The goal is to change a life. The goal is to be committed to the student, to do everything we possibly can. That's great to have that value inside you. But if you're not able to actually execute that, then, of course, that's when we're going to fail. This is a spot that I think everybody can significantly improve. I'll tell you what I'd like to do, and Brian, maybe you can create this. I'd like to create like a questions and answers for this book, and I'd like to create like a worksheet where you could actually grade yourself, because nobody's perfect. I mean, I'm an arrogant person. I don't listen to the full question. I'm continuously working on myself. And maybe if we had like a little workbook that you can grade yourself, and you can say, you know what, I'm a 5 here, and then put some strategies. Okay, well, what are the strategies to improve yourself? And then each year, continuously take like this train-to-trainer program, how to be a great instructor. Say, you know what, man, you look back, Ryan Jackson, I bet you can look back now and say, man, when I did that one time, I've grown. I don't do that anymore. And part of it is accepting yourself and realizing, hey, you know what, this is what I am, so I have to work around who I am. Okay, so we're going to get into the presentation skills. Let's move on. Eye contact. These are mechanical things. Let's see what are mechanical and what are intrinsically just who we are. Eye contact enhances your presentation skill more than anything else.
Yep.
Your voice may carry your message, but your eyes hold the student's attention. Right here. Now, I'll have a class. This class right here is, I'm not sure, this might be only a couple, 300 people. But even in a class of 600 people, and I've done even more than that, it's a challenge. You have to be aware, because there seems to be almost like a habit or a natural tendency to look at a certain part of the audience. Mm-hmm. Maybe like to the right in the middle. You and maybe even you find like a face, and you kind of look at that face. I've sat in audience before, and it seemed like the whole time the person is looking at me, and I'm like, and I actually turn away and stop looking at them, hoping they'd stop looking at me. You know what I mean? Go look at somebody else. And not because I'm feeling uncomfortable when they're looking at me. I'm feeling that they're not looking. I'm aware you're not looking at somebody else. Stop looking at me, because I'm not important. Yes, I know you know who I am, and maybe you're worried about me. You're looking at my body language, but stop looking at me. Look at everybody. Once in a while, glance at me, make the eye contact. And when you make that eye contact, you're developing a relationship. I don't know enough about this, but I understand certain dogs, you just don't look in their eyes. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh yeah, really? So that even between a man and animals, when you're looking at somebody's eyes, something is taking place there. And you have to be aware of how you're handling that situation. So it's important that you make contact. And I've done surveys where I've had, let's say, 300 people in the class, and I ask, how many people here felt that they actually saw me look at their eyes? I don't know if any of you guys been in my class, but I've done that. And almost everybody raised their hand. And I was surprised, because my feeling is that I'm feeling like I'm looking at certain places. That's just my feeling. Now, when I'm doing that, I'm aware, okay, look at the person. So then I'll make it a point to look all the way over here on the right, and I'll take a look at that, and I'll talk to that person over there, and then I'll make it a point, okay, listen. And so you guys in the back, right? Am I right about this, guys? You guys all, and then I'm looking to the left. You see my hands will get moved. Right. So I'm trying to draw their eyes to me so that I can make a contact to them. And that's an intimate relationship, and we'll talk more about that on the eye contact. Direct eye contact may not be comfortable for some students. And we've talked earlier, I think, Brian, you were saying how guy had his head down the whole time. his eyes closed.
Eyes closed.
You know what I mean? And you're thinking, well, I can't even connect. The young kid I told you about, New York City, he got to be like 22 years old, and he had his baseball hat on, his head down the whole time. And I never connected. And it's kind of uncomfortable for me as a presenter when I can't even connect with you. Now, I've done some seminars out in Four Corners, Colorado, Arizona, I guess, whatever the Four Corners are in that part of the country. And I taught Navajo Indians. These were all Navajo Indians. And they said, look, Mike, you know, I mean, it's a cultural thing. You know, the Navajo Indians are, you know, and they're telling me these cultural things, and that they really don't ask questions, and they really don't make eye contact, and they don't like to be touched. You know, if that, I can't remember, it's been 20-something years now. And I'm thinking, me, you know what I mean? You can tell me almost anything you want to tell me, and it means nothing to me because I'm just going to do what I'm going to do anyhow. But they ask questions. I made eye contact with them. Where I've done seminars in Mexico. I did it in Spanish, a grounding and bonding seminar in Spanish. A whole interesting story. I don't know if I ever told you. That's an interesting story. I'm teaching a grounding and bonding class in Mexico, and I'm teaching in Juarez, okay, right outside of El Paso, which is a place right now I'm sure nobody wants to be at all, okay? Exactly. And one of the Mexicans, they're hanging on top of each other. I mean, that massive lunch. I mean, lunch is like this huge thing, and these guys are just loving me, and they're so there's different cultures. So be aware that when you're teaching, and I don't know, I haven't taught a whole, I can imagine teaching a whole room of German engineers. Can you imagine that? Because that has to be like a total cultural different thing than another group. So you have to learn who your audience is going to be. So when you're making direct eye contact, just be careful, you know, that it's not intimidating. It's kind of like a smile, or just, you know, kind of look inside here. But it's important. Make the contact, though. That brings them in. Never turn your back on a student to write on a board. Point at a visual aid, use a pointer, or anything else while speaking. This is probably one of the things that I get the greatest amount of pushback from. And the only way I can't demonstrate it in this particular room right here, but I ask you to demonstrate this. Go to a classroom, have somebody else be the presenter for this exercise, have them turn, we'll try it right here, have them turn their back on you, just like this here, if I had a pointer, and get up over here and then point. And say, if you notice over here, and get actually in front of the screen with the projector or not, and get a laser pointer and start pointing in there and start talking like this there. Now, and if you go over here, you can see this here. Even me doing this demonstration right here, I believe many of you are already losing a personal relationship. There's no eye contact. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if you guys are there. I don't even know if we're having any kind of relationship. I don't know if you're paying attention. I can't see your body language. No, I could do this right here, you know, back there, and then I can talk to you like that. Imagine if I did this program like this, and I had great slides, great presentation skills, but I'm actually not looking to you at all. Let me ask you guys a question, you three guys. Did you guys feel a different by me turning away?
I didn't hear you. I tuned out.
Yeah, but that's what would happen. Right. So those of you that think that you need to turn away and point and use a laser pointer and then look like this here and then go back there, as soon as you do that, you've lost the relationship, and the key is having the relationship. I want to watch you the whole time. I'm looking at your body language. I'm looking at you going like this to me. I'm looking at you finding your iPhone. And I know I just pissed you off, and you're now going to find that on your iPad. And I'm like, got you going, didn't I? You're the smart guy. I know you're, I will do all I can to get that smart guy going nuts. Keep him so busy so he's engaged so that I can spend time with a guy that's like, huh? So I'm watching the different people, and I'm able to adjust myself, because in a classroom, we don't have homogenized or homogeneous group. We don't have everybody with the same personality, with the same demographics, with the same gender, with the same experience. We have a lot of different learning styles, different ability to be able to understand things. I have to be watching you, and I need to look at your eyes. I need to look at your body language. I need to, you nod your head. Okay, got it. Bingo. I see your head nod. You got it. I know you got it because oh, yeah. You're agreeing with me. You're like, I'm like, okay. I'll watch. I'll see that a little bit. I'll see a guy. bite his lip. I'm like, and some of you guys, and I'll turn away from the guy that gives me that negative body language. I'll say, some of you guys are thinking, I don't think so. I know you guys are. I say, watch this. And then I close the deal. So I'm trying to keep a little tension in the class. I'm trying to keep a little excitement in the class, but I can't do that if I'm not watching your body language. I can't do that if I turn my back to you. 0. You could never give me any scenario. It is 0 that you could ever turn your back. So how do you do it? You don't work on a blackboard. You don't turn around. You don't get an easel in the class so you can work out some examples. You're a professional. You come to that class, you better have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You better have timed your presentation. If you want to think of some extra examples, Eric, then you bring the extra examples in your PowerPoint. And when you're going to the class, you realize I'm running out of time, you skip those slides. Say, listen, guys, that's just a couple exercises. We don't have time to kind of do 3 or 4 of those problems this time. But other classes, because of the way it works out, the dynamics, you have the time. So, you know, guys, we're running a little ahead of schedule. How do you know that? I don't know if we're going to talk about this, but we got to make sure we do talk about this. You need to plan your timing. I think I've taught you guys how to do that. You take the number of slides. You know how many slides you can do in a day. You divide it by the number of hours. You divide it by the number of parts. Then you get into your book and say, okay, I'm going to be starting at 8 o'clock, and at 9:15, I'm taking a break. I need to be at this slide by 9:15. And you watch your timing. And if you have a 1-hour program, then you really got to be very, very tight in your timing, because you got to realize on a 1-hour program, I will actually put the time on every single slide and where I should be at, because it's too tight of a program. So that when I'm looking at my program, by the way, my watch always sits right there. And I'm looking at that. I'm so busy making sure I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. So back to this slide here. Don't turn your back to the student. Don't use visual points. Don't use a pointer. How do you handle it then? It's real easy. You'll see we'll work out some graphics. Matter of fact, I won't do it now. Well, I can do it right here. Let's take a look at a slide here. If this was a let me have a picture. Let me finish it up. I'll get a photo. I can show you how I would do it without turning my back. Never speak from the back of the room. Oh, that's a great one. I've seen this. A guy actually goes to the back of the room with a pointer. Have you guys ever seen that?
No.
Now, this is usually a small room, about 20 people. And so the guy will go to the back of the room, get a cup of coffee, and then stand back there and start talking and start pointing. Hey, try this. Brian, tell me.
Well, I had an instructor that was actually in one of the labs we did at college, and he always taught from the back of the room. And, of course, I didn't know anything about it, but it really just drove me crazy. And I asked him one day, I'm like, hey, why do you always teach from the back of the room? There were a lot of visual aids and stuff that were computerized. And he's like, oh, that way I'm not distracting you guys and you can pay attention to what's going on. So his personality in his head, he thought he was doing us a favor by standing in the back of the room. But you have this voice behind you that's driving you crazy, but you're trying to pay attention in front of you, and it's like you're torn. Like you want to turn around and look at the guy, but the thing's in the front.
Yeah.
There were some times when I was teaching high school SAT refresher courses where there were some boisterous kids at the back of the class, and so as I was teaching, sometimes I would just walk back to the back of the class and sit on their desk, and that would quiet them down. Then I would go back to the front.
And that's a strategy in managing the class.
Right.
Right? And sometimes we have, like in life, right? We have to compromise perfection in order to accommodate reality. So much I want to be here, but I see the guys, sometimes I've seen myself walk myself all the way back near the back of a class, on a small class, not a huge class, because a guy's sleeping. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or he's falling asleep. He's starting to fall asleep. And I just kind of work my way back there, and all of a sudden, you know, but as soon as I get that accomplished, he can hear the voice, it's louder than it was, then I work my way back to the front. Okay? Now, don't speak from the back of the class. Don't turn your back to it. And those of you doing this, you're probably the ones that are arguing about dress code also. Well, I think you should be able to come in the shorts however you want to. These guys, okay. Then you're not going to be what I think you should be. Hands. If you're comfortable and confident with your student, your hands won't be a problem. You know, even when I'm teaching, I mentioned to you earlier, the young adults, I was uncomfortable because I didn't know what to do. So that, and it's great for me to get into experiences of having just not sure what to go on, you know, as if I was starting from the beginning, because that helps me understand better. And, you know, there is something about your hands, but all it takes is a relationship. So what did I do with the 400-something children, young adults? I went and I talked to them. What are you here for? What are you thinking? What are you asking? So to try to relax me. And once I can get going, then I can just be natural. Don't worry about where your hands, what you're doing. I don't, you know, you got to realize it is giving some body language. I don't know if we're going to have any comments about body language here, so let me pick it up. If we do it again, we'll do it later on. You know, I have a tendency, I think if you saw enough videos and you saw me speaking, I put my hands on my hips. And usually when I do that, it's because you're talking and you're actually teaching me something. You're actually teaching it. I'm like, Or I'm thinking. I'm like, huh. It isn't like, yeah, what's that about? Because I don't have a confrontational nature in a classroom setting like that. It would never go like, you know. My hands in my pockets. I can see huge small amount of time put my hands in my pockets. I mean, just in the top, just I would say maybe 1/10 of 1%. Maybe there could be a time, but most of the time my hands are moving all over the place, and I'm just crazy. So I don't worry about where my hands. So don't worry about it. But you know, you don't want to be playing with something, you know, because that then you're watching a person play with that. Just do what comes naturally. Just relax. You guys have any, Ryan?
Yeah, if you have the opportunity to record yourself and watch yourself teach, you're probably not going to be able to watch it for 8 hours, you know. But I do think it's worth watching yourself because you have nuances that you're not aware of, or that you are aware of and are even more exaggerated than you thought. And I'll give you an example with me. If somebody's talking and I don't agree with what they're saying, I have a really bad way of communicating that to them with my face. If you're saying something that I don't think is right, I do that almost you know, it's terrible.
Yeah, right.
How bad? Yeah, and that's something that I knew I did it, but I didn't know how bad I did it. And that's something when somebody's asking me a question in a class, I can make them feel like an idiot without saying a word. And that's something that I have to know. And that's something that I have to remember and work around. You know, so if somebody's asking me, you know, Eric and I were talking last night, you know, there's no such thing as a dumb question. We've all had plenty of dumb questions. There are dumb questions. Yeah. And when you ask me one, I'm probably going to think, well, this is a stupid question. But I can't show that. And I know that I will. You know what I mean? So if you have the opportunity to watch yourself, I think it's very much time well spent.
I think see, I get surveyed every seminar my entire life. It's never an evaluation, okay? And so over 40 years, people have beat me up, and I've gotten better and better and better because I want to get better and better. Right. But I think you can accelerate that by what you said. Have somebody videotape you, yeah. Or set yourself up and then go back and look at that and think, ooh. Ooh, and it's gonna be very painful. I can tell you that right now. It's very painful to watch yourself. All right, let's go on. Do what comes naturally. Take a look at this picture. Now, based upon the experience we've talked about a little bit, for sure, is this a one-day program?
Definitely
Looking
not.
at that.
Definitely not.
No.
No, because why? I have my shirt off and I rolled up my sleeves.
It's the afternoon of the second day.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'm slowly working my way down to get everybody feeling a little bit more comfortable. Does it look like, okay, we're in business, we're working here? Because I rolled up my sleeves. When you see somebody roll up the sleeves, it's like, okay, let's get to work. Let's get to work. And I'll do that. And I'm doing that with consciousness. I'm like, and it isn't like I went to break and I came back. I will physically take off my jacket while I'm there. I will roll up my sleeve in front of them because everything I'm doing is with a purpose. And I want them to realize, okay, usually this will be like, I'm doing a class for 2 days. I decided I'm not going to do the grounding and bonding section on the first day because the guys are just getting there. And so maybe the second day in the morning, I might even do that. Because you know what, I decided, you know what, guys, we're doing grounding and bonding. Those of you guys have baseball hats, take your hat, put it backwards. Rolling up my sleeve, and we're going to get into some work here because this is tricky. Ryan might say, okay, we're going to hazard classified locations. Hang on, because I'm going to take you for a ride. So looking at this graphic here, it's just natural. My hands, they go up. Now, in this case here, it's very unique in that I actually have a microphone in my hand. Now, that would be incredibly rare to have a microphone in my hand. Brian, why would I have a microphone in my hand?
Because the primary audio system failed and we had to go to the backup.
Exactly. So if you see me with a microphone in my hand, in other words, I'm working my way down. So you can watch my photos, you can watch my body language, and you can tell about me because I'm communicating clearly what I'm doing. Take a look right here. Now you notice my pointer. I changed my pointer options to be a large pointer, and I went out on the internet and I Googled and I found red pointer. And I downloaded the red pointer and I installed it so that I can in my pointer options, I can have a pointer. So if I wanted to play, listen, you can notice right here the sleeves, okay? Over here, I have two screens. This person sitting in the first row, you notice there's only 2 people per table here. And we have a platform. In other words, I can point things. I don't need to be turning myself around and making the pointer because I'm watching to see if you're seeing exactly what I'm talking about. There's no reason to have a pointer because I have the ability to communicate it right there. Listen, sometimes you go in a venue and there's a whiteboard.
Yeah.
I've done this before, and I had a magic marker, but it was a
Sharpie.
permanent.
Yeah, permanent.
I wrote on it. So, just saying.
Okay.
So, one second, let me finish this up here. So, back to my options and my mouse. We can just talk about PowerPoint right now. Felt pen. I might gonna go.
Oh, there's laser pointer. On the newer version of PowerPoint, right down there it says laser pointer.
Down the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's in the same menu, right there.
But don't say it. We have a laser pointer.
On the newer version.
Oh,
that's an older version of PowerPoint you have.
Highlighter. So I don't have to do anything. Let me see what else we got. Highlighter, balloon pen. I'm not sure what a balloon pen is.
Ballpoint pen, I
Oh,
think.
ballpoint pen. Did I say balloon pen? And arrow. We have that. And erase. And then we have
Erase everything.
arrow options. Erase.
All ink.
Love it.
Okay? So right there, I mean, you have a lot more tools with your PowerPoints than you would with a laser because you can't even mark it. Eric?
Okay, so you mentioned Sharpie on the whiteboard. And I did that once as in front of a large class of engineers. And I just felt horrible because I said, oh my gosh, I just wrote with a Sharpie on the whiteboard. And someone in the class said, just trace over it with the dry erase and then erase it.
Yeah.
And so I tried it and it worked perfectly.
Takes it right off.
Takes it right off.
Trace over.
So I wrote with the Sharpie.
Right.
And so I said, okay, I've messed up big time.
Right.
Just ruined a board.
Yeah.
So then I grabbed a dry erase marker
Right.
and just wrote over the Sharpie marks with the dry erase marker, and then it erased right off.
Oh.
Or you can use denatured alcohol, wipe it with
There's
denatured
ways.
alcohol.
It's just that at the middle of the seminar, it wasn't a way to
But
fix
you don't
it.
have denatured
All right,
alcohol
we gotta move
typically
on.
at a seminar.
I don't want to get distracted
Yeah.
here. Again, we got to be careful. Watch how I'm controlling. Even when we're going here, I'm watching things, let it go a little bit, and we'll talk more about controlling the class, but then, okay, we got to bring the class back together again. All right? So we know we don't turn. We have the tools in the PowerPoint to do what we need to do. And we'll talk more about PowerPoint. But, Brian, we want to make sure this discussion right here gets also placed in the PowerPoint section.